Okay, good morning, everyone. Right, so this is good morning. This is a great day. Right. Dear Vice Dean Kimberly Jones, so right here, and the Director Bryan Heidorn, so sitting here, and also Academician Huang, so also here, and Professor Hsi-Yuan Chen, and the faculty, staff, students, friends, and the distinguished guests. Welcome. Yeah. Welcome to attend the opening ceremony of the 2022 Pacific Neighborhood Consortium Annual Meeting. My name is Jiang, Director of the Center for Buddhist Studies and the Chair of the Organizing Committee at the University of Arizona. In the beginning of this ceremony, I would like to extend a very warm welcome, as warm as our weather. For our guests, you don't know how hot this place is, right? So right now, it's starting cooling down, right? But we're still very warm. So I want to extend this very warm welcome to everyone and introduce some background of this meeting and how the joint effort of the University of Arizona and the Pacific Neighborhood Consortium to overcome difficulties and brings this wonderful event in front of you. The Pacific Neighborhood Consortium, abbreviated as PNC, so I'm going to say PNC all the time, is a leading research organization which supports enhanced research and education through effective use of new technologies. Since its founding in 1993, PNC encourages scholars, academic institutions, and universities to collaborate and exchange their academic resources and research expertise. PNC has been committed to enhancing digital research and interaction among researchers, educators, professionals around the Pacific Rim nations. Because of the success of PNC, I immediately accepted the invitation to host the PNC annual meeting when I was approached 3 years ago. So this is actually 3 years ago, we decided to host the PNC meeting. Right? However, because of the pandemic, our chance of hosting the PNC meeting has been delayed for another 2 years. Now, the 2022 annual meeting finally arrives on the campus of the University of Arizona and hosted by the College of Humanities and organized by the Center for Buddhist Studies and the Department of East Asian Studies, co-sponsored by Center for Digital Humanities, Center for Digital Society and Data Studies, and the School of Information. The theme for 2022 is the digital world in the age of uncertainty, humanizing technology for wellness, resilience, and creativity. Every word in this title has been carefully chosen. It reflects the world we're in right now, full of tension, uncertainty, and conflict. However, it also shows hope because the digital tools have connected humanities together in an unprecedented way. If we use these tools carefully with a vision, we may be able to create a new paradigm for human flourishing and wellness, while maintaining our resilience and creativity. In fostering access to digitized data on the Pacific Rim and North America, the PNC serves as a portal of access to digital research in areas such as e-learning, digital humanities, language teaching, health and wellness studies, and also e-business, information sciences, library, and museum studies. The ultimate goal is to enable scholars to regard themselves not as separated by vast distances, but as residents of a virtual neighborhood. The University of Arizona wants to be part of this endeavor to work with PNC for a brighter future. During the year-long preparation for today's event, the PNC secretariat staff, some of them are here today, and the staff, faculty, students at the College of Humanities had worked tirelessly to ensure the success of this event. I want to thank them for supporting us during the process of preparation. I want to thank in particular our staff who are working with me to make this event happen. Our center staff members, Muriel Coast, Muriel's somewhere, right? So you will see her very often. Jeffrey Wei Liu, right? And Zilin Wan, and also our COH business manager, Natalie Ocean, have worked with me closely and tirelessly. I also want to thank our organizing committee members. Dr. Albert Walter, is Albert here? He's probably not this morning, but we were going to see him during the closing ceremony. And also Brian Carter, who's later going to give a keynote speech tomorrow. And also Brian Heidorn here. Professor Fengxi Liu, right? So I saw Fengxi here. Yeah, Fengxi here. And also Professor Scott Gregory, also here. And thank you all for ensuring the academic quality of the program. The University of Arizona, as a leading research university in the world, supports this year's PNC meeting wholeheartedly. Our president, Robert Robbins, has sent us a personal letter to welcome our guests and express his best wishes for our success. After his letter is read later, Chin-Shing Huang, chair of PNC and vice president of Academia Sinica Taiwan, will deliver a pre-recorded speech on behalf of Academia Sinica. Unfortunately, our College of Humanities, Duran Steen Alain Philippe Duran, cannot join us today, so let me repeat his name, right? Duran Steen Alain Philippe Duran, right? So it's very complicated because this position, so he has an endowed position by the Duran's family. So that's why before the dean, the title is Duran Steen, and his last name is Duran, right? So sometimes we joke, we call him the 3D, right? It's because 3D. So I think maybe we can add the 4D, because this is digital conference, and he loves digital stuff, right? So maybe we'll make him a 4D dean, right? So he loves digital innovations and support us. But unfortunately, he will not be able to join us, but he already sent his best wishes to us and to all of you. Our Vice Dean, Kimberly Jones, will speak on behalf of the College of Humanities to welcome all of you. And also, Bryan Heidorn, later, Director of Center for Digital Society and Data Study at the School of Information, will speak on behalf of our co-sponsors. And later, Professor Hsi-Yuan Chen, CEO and PNC Director at the Center for Digital Culture at the Academia Sinica, will also speak on behalf of PNC. Finally, I would like to wish you to remain prosperous and healthy in the rest of this year. And it has been another difficult year for a lot of us, so we start to see some hopes. But however, there's still uncertainties in front of us. We have had to endure all kinds of inconvenience and health risks caused by the pandemic, both physically and mentally. However, our perseverance and resilience has become even stronger. The 2022 PNC meeting happening now at the University of Arizona is an example of our efforts to provide new opportunities for high-quality digital scholarship. We hope to create a wonderful experience for all of you. Thank you. Thank you very much. So next, please welcome our College of Humanities Vice Dean Kimberly Jones to read President Robbins' welcome message. So please, Kim.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome. I want to start, before I read the letter from the President, we have been starting events by reading a land acknowledgement statement that recognizes that the lands we are on here, belong to indigenous people. The University of Arizona worked with our native tribes, sovereign nations in the state to come up with this land acknowledgement statement. So I will begin, before reading the President's message, with that. We respectfully acknowledge that the University of Arizona is on the land and territories of indigenous peoples. Today, Arizona is home to 22 federally recognized tribes, with Tuson being home to the O'odham and the Yaqui. Committed to diversity and inclusion, the university strives to build sustainable relationships with sovereign Native nations and indigenous communities through education offerings, partnerships, and community service. And now I will read the President's message to us all. Dear 2022 Pacific Neighborhood Consortium Annual Meeting attendees, on behalf of the University of Arizona, I welcome you to the 2022 Pacific Neighborhood Consortium Annual Meeting. It is an honor to host this meeting, and I congratulate you on the success of this event. The University of Arizona has always been proud to be our state's land-grant university. But in this time of unprecedented change, it is not enough to just serve the people of our state. We are committed to being a public, global land-grant university, focused on developing shared solutions to our shared challenges. The conversations that you will have at this meeting are an important exchange of ideas across cultures, and I commend you on participating in this endeavor. At the University of Arizona, our strategic priorities are centered around the fourth industrial revolution, the convergence of biological, digital, and physical realms, as well as the economic and societal change that this convergence will cause. This year's annual meeting theme, The Digital World in an Age of Uncertainty, Humanizing Technology for Wellness, Resilience, and Creativity, is an ideal means of exploring these issues. We believe that our global partnerships will allow us to create access, promote student success, and provide opportunity around the world in order to take leadership in harnessing the fourth industrial revolution to tackle the biggest challenges that we all face today. I am particularly grateful to our Center for Buddhist Studies, Department of East Asian Studies, Center for Digital Humanities, and the School of Information, as well as our partners in Taiwan, for facilitating these efforts at this year's Pacific Neighborhood Consortium meeting. Thank you for visiting the University of Arizona. Best wishes for the rest of the meeting, and I hope you enjoy your stay. And it's signed sincerely, Robert C. Robbins.
Thank you very much, Kim. Thank you, Professor President Robbins. Right? Although he cannot be here, and this letter is really nice. So next, we are going to have Professor Chin-Shing Huang, Chair of PNC and also Vice President from Academia Sinica, Taiwan. So unfortunately, he will not be able to join us, but however, he pre-recorded a video message. So please.
Good morning, distinguished guests, partners and colleagues in Arizona. Good evening, honorable guests who are joining us online all over the world. It's my pleasure to welcome you to PNC 2022 Annual Conference and Joint Meetings. First of all, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to our host, College of Humanities of University of Arizona. With your support and concerted effort, I'm confident to say that this year's event will be more successful and memorable in Tuson at your school. The theme of this year's conference is the digital world in the age of uncertainty, humanizing technology for wellness, resilience, and creativity, which reflects the current issue and different points of view. As usual, we will have speaker of keynote speech, panel session, and e-type workshop, sharing the latest advances in their area surrounding the theme. As you may know, this year will make our 29th year of universals. Unfortunately, I'm not able to attend this meeting in person due to schedule conflict. But still, I'm glad and joyful to have all you here. I hope everyone can enjoy the meeting and find it a rewarding experience. Best wish to a successful and fruitful conference. Thank you.
So next, once again, we want to welcome Professor Kimberly Jones, Vice Dean of College of Humanities, to deliver a message on behalf of College of Humanities. So please.
And if all else fails, I noticed on the video there's captioning, so I could stand up here and read the captions if need be. All right, welcome everybody. As Dr. Wu said, I'm our Vice Dean for Academic Affairs in the college, Kim Jones. I am speaking on behalf of Dorrance Dean, Alain Philippe Durand, who unfortunately can't be here today. He's actually out of the country, traveling in France right now. But on his behalf and on my own, it's with great pleasure that I welcome you to the 2022 Pacific Neighborhood Consortium annual meeting. I've been looking forward to this conference for a long time. As Dr. Wu said, we've been waiting literally for years because of the influence of the pandemic. So I was excited about the conference and have been for quite a while. But when I received my copy of the conference program, I was getting even more excited. I don't think I've ever had the pleasure of welcoming people to a conference that is as diverse and as multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary as this one is. I was going over the program one more time as I was drinking my coffee this morning. My husband was there, my daughter was there, and I kept finding myself calling out to them, "Oh, you know, David, there's a talk on climate. It's on clouds. You would like this one." Or my daughter just returned from Japan and is fascinated by museums. I said, "Oh, somebody's here from the National Japanese History Museum." She was very excited. So it seems to me that there's something for just about everybody in this conference, and it's really a wonderful event. I think that the multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary nature of the PNC conference is an especially good fit for the College of Humanities and for the University of Arizona. We thrive on the intersection of disciplines here. In the College of Humanities, we partner with departments, with schools, with colleges, all over campus. Our Dorrance Dean is proud to say that so far we have collaborations with every single University of Arizona College except nursing. I'm also not sure about veterinary medicine. They're relatively new, and we may have a collaboration that I'm not aware of. But we do like to collaborate, and actually we've recently begun talking to the College of Nursing too. So we're on track to collaborate with everybody. Similarly, many of our departments are very multi and interdisciplinary. They house scholars whose disciplines range from anthropology, cultural studies, digital humanities, of course, history, health humanities, linguistics, literary studies, religious studies. I may be forgetting some. There might be some others that I'm not thinking of, but we have faculty who work in many different areas and enjoy working together and with colleagues across campus. The Department of East Asian Studies is my home department and one of the two organizing units. They're a great example of this, being a very interdisciplinary type department. And I also just wanted to put in a plug for them and say that we're really proud. They took their interdisciplinarity, their cross-campus collaborations, their expertise in many areas, and they have just had successfully funded a Title VI, Department of Education Title VI Center for East Asian Studies. So this is big. It joins 3 other Title VI centers that are here on campus, and we're very pleased by that. One of the 2 co-directors, Professor Scott Gregory, is here. The other is Professor Wenhao Diao, and I'm not sure whether she may not be with us at this point. But congratulations to them and to the Department of East Asian Studies. And then there's our primary organizing unit, the Center for Buddhist Studies, which was established in 2017, which by my count says we need to be having a 5th birthday party pretty soon. Maybe we can celebrate 5 successful years. The Center for Buddhist Studies is a research, educational, and outreach center, and it too collaborates with departments and communities both within the University of Arizona and without. It promotes academic research on the Buddhist tradition and its related religious, intellectual, social, cultural, and artistic aspects in all geographic regions of the world. So every year, the Center for Buddhist Studies initiates activities and programs including lecture series, academic conferences and workshops, academic publications, digital scholarship, training and education in related fields, visiting scholar programs, contemplative studies, community outreach, and also financial assistance, both to students and scholars of Buddhist studies. A quote from its director, Dr. Wu, "In particular, we embrace the digital future, and we found the mission of PNC resonates with our commitment to enhance humanity's spiritual well-being in the digital age of uncertainty." And among the many interesting talks and panels that you're going to have access to during this conference, Center for Buddhist Studies will be talking about their work on the machine-human collaborative translation of Chinese Buddhist texts, and also launching of new websites and story maps for their regional religious systems story map. So those are just a few of the initiatives that are going on in the 2 co-organizing units that are part of College of Humanities. So on behalf of the college, without further ado, I'll bring my remarks to a close and just thank you all so much for being here. I'm glad everybody traveled safely. I know many of you came from long, long distances away. So welcome, have fun, best wishes for a phenomenal conference. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So next we have Professor Bryan Heidorn speak on behalf of the School of Information.
So whenever I have to do something like this, I have to explain what is a School of Information. And I'm going to explain a little bit, I try to, what the center is that I represent as well. Thank you everyone for helping to organize this conference and for some of you coming a very great distance to attend the conference today. I'll apologize ahead, I'm going to be reading notes, but I recently had my eyes upgraded and they haven't rebooted completely yet. So I'll be switching back and forth and dealing with that. So a School of Information is very related to the issues associated with this conference. The basic question we have is, how do people collect, process, store, transform, transmit, and use information? So the object of study for us in a School of Information is information itself. So our biologist studies biological organisms, we study information. And of course, for human society, information is everywhere. It permeates all of the disciplines. Certainly we deal with the digital age, with information in computers. That's where a lot of the innovation is happening now. But those questions about the very nature of information started even before the Greeks, the ancient Greeks, I mean. And we're still trying to solve some of those questions about what are the laws of information and what's the relationship between people and information. I would argue that information, how we use information, is a reflection of culture and the human spirit. Within our department, therefore, we can't have people within just one discipline because our interest spans all disciplines. So we manage to be multidisciplinary within a single department, or in many places colleges or schools. And the kinds of people, to give you an idea of the kinds of people that are faculty in those departments, we have information scientists, people that got their PhD in information science, but also computer scientists, librarians, archivists, museum curators, psychologists, sociologists, PhDs in communication, artists, and many other disciplines. We also have sets of affiliates. Some of the people in the room here are affiliates with the School of Information. We also have collaborators, and many others across about every discipline you can think of that happens to use information. We try to help those other disciplines improve their own discipline, so digital humanities can open new territory using the disciplines that are available in the digital world. But we also are interested in what's the nature of the information in that setting, as well as facilitating that science. So it's a reciprocity. In the Center for Digital Society and Data Studies, we have to note that the digital revolution is very much like the kinds of revolutions that were introduced by the invention of papyrus and the papyrus trade along the Roman Empire, which made books plentiful and cheap and increased literacy across the empire. When that trade fell, it eventually was replaced by paper because the Chinese had invented it, kept it private for a few thousand years, but it managed to make itself to the West and introduced the printing press. So for us, that's an object of study. Information within culture and how culture developed was driven in large part by the tools and the media that were available for the culture to communicate its ideas and for society to expand and change and for knowledge to disseminate. So within the center, we want to not only study this phenomena of information, but take some responsibility for how digital culture is developing now. The digital revolution can be used both for good and for evil. So the question is, how can we, as a discipline, study that phenomena, and not only study it, but figure out effective ways to intervene? So for example, now for the spring, we're planning a workshop in anti-disinformation. So there's disinformation is spreading throughout society. What can we do? What can all of the disciplines do to combat disinformation? And we need many people coming to that to serve that end. So we need educators in K-12, we need librarians, we need museum people to help us deal with that problem. I want to point out that it's the human spirit that both forms and is formed by the digital realm. So we're undergoing an experiment right now where we're changing society, and the human form is impacting how technology is developing. We're deciding what to develop, but at the same time, there's mass numbers of people that are being impacted by those changes. So society itself is also being changed by the very technology that society is creating. So we need to reflect on that and try to intervene. I wanted to point out some of the challenges that we have. Some are being considered by speakers in this very conference, but there are many other issues that we have to deal with. We can consider the issue that big data and artificial intelligence can now accidentally, by observing people's buying behavior and their communication patterns on social networks and other information feeds, an AI working for a pharmacy, for example, can tell that a woman is pregnant. And there have been cases where a woman's parents were notified about planning a baby shower, and the woman had not yet shared that information, and maybe never did want to share that information with anyone else. But it was discovered by our machines, the machines that we created. And it has very substantial impact in the United States. The laws related to pregnancy are changing. And what impact is the distribution of that knowledge going to have? How do we control it? Who should have control? Should anyone have control? We have to ask questions about what is our right to privacy, and what's the relationship of our right to privacy that's been acknowledged in some cultures for hundreds of years or thousands of years, arising from the culture. But what happens when we have a digital realm? How do we deal with it differently? And should we put safeguards or guide rails on the systems that we develop? And if we do put on such guide rails, should it be embedded in law? How much is going to be embedded in culture? How much it can be dealt with our educational systems? Teaching about misinformation just became a law for K-12 education in Illinois. So they passed a law and said, this is so important to culture, we're going to change the curriculum for K-12 education to include dealing with misinformation. Maybe we need to have changes throughout society to deal with the ramifications of the advancements that we have. I wanted to point out some of the other areas that we need to deal with in an interdisciplinary manner for not just the digital realm, but how the digital impacts the physical, and how the power that we get from mass information will allow us to solve or not solve critical problems. So if you consider the big issues, some of the big issues of the day, such as the climate catastrophe, it's not the case that climate modelers or some particular science is going to solve the problem for us. We need to break down disciplinary boundaries that exist within universities and within the heads of the individuals in the universities in order to break out of our cocoons and our silos and tackle these big problems like the climate catastrophe. Pandemics we all know about now. We ignored them 10 years ago, and suddenly they're important again. They have been throughout US history, world history. There are many things that we can do with digital information to help mitigate the impacts of these. So what can we do? What should we invest? How should we change education? How do we change communication? How do we change the storage and dissemination of information? If there's a new outbreak, what laws or practices should exist for notification of people in other locations? What kinds of actions should we take if we know ahead of time so that we can act? What should we have in place to plan? Issues like trust in government are often impacted now through information channels and social media. So tribes have always existed in human culture, but now we can have digital tribes. Groups of people with similar thinking can get together online, sometimes for good and sometimes for evil. And we need to figure out how to intervene in that for the cultural good. But we can't do that as elitists. We can't, from the great tower in the sky, as elites, impose something upon culture. So we need to work with the population at large, globally, to try to come to an agreement about what actions we can take in the digital realm so that we can have a better life moving forward. There are other basic needs for the culture. A lot of people outside of academia have rather different interests from what we focus on in our disciplines from day to day. People worry about if they're going to have food on the table. The climate catastrophe means that millions of people can be flooded where they had a drought just months before, and they're worried about survival. And we can bring our tools of information and planning and modeling across sciences and humanities in order to solve those problems. But to do that, we need to communicate. We need interdisciplinary groups like this working together on a regular basis, looking at these big problems and looking at individual people's problems, getting food on the table or getting their vaccines or whatever the problem might be. How do we communicate to them and make sure that people have access to health for their wellness, food security, all of those things is the responsibility of all of us here, but particularly here at the University of Arizona. We're a land-grant university. So the federal government, through a set of laws over 100 years ago, distributed land within states to be used within universities for the greater good. Agriculture, mining, other practical goods. So as a university, we have a responsibility from our history to intervene and to help in society. We also have a responsibility because we're standing on indigenous land, and we're the stewards somewhat of that land. So we need to treat the people on it and the land itself well to make sure that we as a people and the land do well, because my talk later on today is about that split between nature and humanity, which it doesn't exist. We need, so you don't have to come now, I just told you that. I'm very happy that we're able to get this group of people, that the School of Information and the center that I represent were able to help in some small way to facilitate this get-together. And hopefully through the conversations that people have at the coffee and at lunch and at dinner afterwards, we could set up some longer-term collaborations and actually get something done. Not just talk about what we want to do, but get it done. So thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Bryan. Yeah, so next we have Professor Hsi-Yuan Chen, CEO of PNC and also Director of the Center for Digital Culture from Academia Sinica. Thanks. Welcome.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, and our honorable guest, good morning. On behalf of Pacific Neighborhood Consortium, I'm pleased and honored to welcome you all to the PNC 2022, the conference and joint meeting in Tucson, Arizona. First of all, I want to take this opportunity to extend our heartfelt gratitude to the local organizer who have served to the review committee and help organizing this perfect and such an excellent program. And I personally want to especially grateful to Professor Jiang, and he and his team has made a tremendous effort and helped to make this event in the past months, over the years. So this is our first, the first year back for in-person meeting since the outbreak of the pandemic. So now we are still, understand that, as we are still maneuvering through the new reality and learning to be more, adaptable to the changing and challenging world. So it's only, appropriate to have, the theme of a conference centered around the so-called, the digital world in the age of, uncertainty. So we're going to discuss the humanizing technology for wellness, resilience, and creativity. So throughout the following 3 days conference, so we have ample opportunity to explore and exchange ideas via the keynote speech, panel presentations, and e-type workshop, and poster session on how science and technology could be utilized, such as AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning, to be utilized widely as well as wisely to meet our present needs. So I look forward to continuing navigating through the sea of uncertainty with you all. I just learned, the other days when I arrived here, there's a motto of the University of Arizona: "Bear down." Originally is a song, right? It's an official song for the football team, Whitecaps. So it's a fighting song, and it's "Bear down," raise our voice high. So I would use this motto to say, together we can, joined with the joint forces, So I believed we can sail, through the storm with confidence and fight against all the odds and bear down to the end. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Hsi-Yuan. Right, looks like Professor Chen already studied our history. So thank you very much. Right. So basically, that's all the program. But at the end, I want to add a personal note for all of you. So why we organize this conference, it has something personal for me. I don't know if you have noticed, actually, I'm wearing 2 name tags. One is for this year's meeting, but this one, somehow I found it, is from 2007. So that was held at UC Berkeley. So I from the back, I still have the lunch coupon. Right? So I'm going to redeem it today. But anyway, I just want to mention I have been a long-time participant of the ECAI. So I also find I have the PNC 2005 annual meeting program with me. So back to 2005, I was already a member of the ECAI. So I was introduced to ECAI and the PNC by Professor Dr. Louis Lancaster, who is in this year 90 years old. So we're going to have a special celebration of his birthday during the closing ceremony. So he is also the founder of ECAI, both ECAI and PNC. Right? So throughout many years, he has been helping us direct us through this uncertain territory. So we are really grateful to him, right? To him for introducing me, at least, to this wonderful platform for exchange of ideas. So thank you very much for attending the opening ceremony. So right now, I want everybody to move to the old main building. In front of that, we're going to take group photo, right? So everybody is invited, please. Yeah. So please follow our staff if you don't know where it is. So we're going to walk together. It's very close, just downstairs.